This is a quick video to talk about creating objects in Java, and this aligns with the course textbook. This is similar to what you'll see in example 3.5. So the idea with creating objects is that you want to try to simulate something that's in the real world. In this case, what we're going to try to simulate is the idea of a very simple bank account. So when you think about a bank account, the typical things that you may have would be the person's first name, their last name, an account number, a balance. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to set up an account and then use it just like a regular bank account. So let's go File, create a new project, and it's an application. I'm going to say bank account. So I'm going to do two classes here. One is going to be for this class will be used to create instances of a bank account. And then let's go here, and I'm going to create a new Java class, and I'll call it bank account. Okay, so let's put our comments in. This class will represent a simple bank account. So I'm saying it's simple because we're not going to put a lot of interesting things in here, or complex things anyways. So the idea is a bank account. Typical things that you're going to have will be person's first name, their last name. You would probably have an account number. In this example, they left it out, so we can add it in, and a balance. So let's so these variables represent the attributes of a bank account. So I'm going to say private string first name, last name, and I'll say account number. And I'm going to say private. Now we're representing money here, so an integer type wouldn't be very appropriate for the balance, because integers can only handle whole numbers, not decimals. And what we need is something that can definitely handle decimals, because otherwise we'd never have anything less than a full dollar amount. So I'm going to make it type double, because that has the most accuracy. We won't get into rounding errors. And we'll just call this account balance. So you see all the names that I've chosen there for these attributes are things that you would actually call them. Someone's first name, their last name, what's the account balance. And when you're creating an object, one of the first things you have to do is create a constructor. A constructor is like any other method. The big difference being that it exactly matches the name of our class, and it's going to create a new object. So in this case, we're going to say public bank account, and string for the first name, a string for the last name, a string for the account number, actually, let me just call this first name. Last name, account, and if there's an opening balance. Okay. And what's great here is if I use my Javadoc notation, you see how NetBeans actually filled in all of my parameters for me, and this will be really helpful when we go to call this method later. So this is a bank account constructor, and what it's going to say, so first name, person's first name, the account holder's last name, the account number. In this case, we're not putting many constraints on the account number. We would, in reality, actually make that quite a bit more robust than what it is there. And the balance, the opening balance. Okay. So here, all we need to do now is we say, well, the first name. So this is our attribute or global variable up here. We're going to say the first name is equal to whatever name is passed in. In this case, equals fname. Last name equals lname. Account number is equal to whatever information is passed in. And actually, yeah, because we're not putting any controls on the account number, I'm actually just going to pull that out of this example. We will look at those at a later time. Now, if I were to do this, if I were to say allow account balance to be any number that's passed in, we could get into a situation where someone actually put a negative number, maybe by mistake or something. So I'm going to put a little condition in here. We're going to learn about conditions this weekend, more next week. But I'm going to say if balance, right? So if the number that was passed in is less than 0, okay. Actually, I'm going to say if it's greater than or equal to 0, then set this. Okay, because I want to ensure that we've got a positive balance on when we open the account. And here I'm just going to say end of constructor. So at this point in time, we can actually create an account. And if I were to do that, I would go over here to this little testing file that we created. And inside of here, get rid of it says to do the code. I'll do the code. And I can actually say, I'm going to create a bank account. And I'm going to call it account 1 equals new bank account. And I'm going to say Jarrett, last name Wright, and opening balance of $1,500.32. Okay. Now, because we have up here this package, so everything that's inside of this package we can reuse. We don't need to import or do anything else, which is really nice. So now we can create a bank account. If I step into this, okay, so we can see we're at line 15 here, and I'm going to step into it again, which means it's actually going to call our constructor that we created, and we're going to see that it'll step through each of these, step over them, and if I look at my variables at this point, let me just pull this a little higher, so you can see my variables of my bank account, F name, right, it's Jarrett, right, and the actual variables for first name are Jarrett, right, yeah. And then step over this. Our balance was greater than 0, so we can set that. Right, so now our balance is set to $1,500.32. And it'll come back to this line. And that'll be the end of our program. So it doesn't do anything too interesting yet, but we actually just created an account there. So let's look at some of the other things that we can do with these accounts. Let's create a method now that will deposit more money into our account. So this method will deposit money into the account. So we're going to do public. We're not returning anything here, right? We're just setting the variable. So we're going to say public void deposit. And we're going to pass in a type double and say deposit amount. So here, if the deposit amount is greater than 0, right? Because we don't want to deposit a negative amount, that'd be a withdrawal. Then we're going to say the balance, sorry, account balance is equal to whatever the account balance was before plus this new deposit amount. Okay. And if that's not the case, if we had a poor deposit amount, I'm gonna print some to the screen and just say, hey, you need to deposit a positive amount of money. Okay, so now we can deposit money into our account. But you know what the interesting thing is, we actually can't see the balance of our account yet. So let's create another method as well that allows us to see the So I'm just going to update my comment up there and then down here. This one, I'm going to say this method will print the account's balance to the screen. Okay, so actually, this method will return. How about that? We'll return the account's balance as a double. So here we're going to say public double get balance. And all I have to do is say return account balance. Now, so what this method does is it looks to this variable and just returns whatever that information is. The reason that we do it this way is we want the methods to be private, or sorry, the variables to be private, okay, because these represent the account. Otherwise, I could have anything modify these variables, right? I only want to modify these variables if I can control the logic as to how they're being done. So in this case, let's go over to our testing class. So I've got account 1. Well, let's create another bank account. Account 2. And he can have $4,000 to start. Lucky guy. And I'm going to say system.out.print the balance for account 1 is, I give it 2 decimal places. So I'm using printf here, which gives me the ability to use this formatted print, right? So I'm going to use 0.2f. And I'm going to say account 1. When I push decimal here, you can see all of the possible methods that we've created. Well, I'm going to say get the balance. And then I can do the same thing for the other account. But this time I'm going to say account 2. And put some nice new lines in here. Okay, and then let's do let's put some money into my account. So I'm going to say account 1 dot deposit 3,043 cents. And we'll just print them to the screen again. So let's see here what's going on.